It is one of the most famous faces on Earth. A symbol of modern rebellion. Popularized globally by the film V for Vendetta.
Take off your mask.
No.
This mask promises anarchy and revolution. But this mask has a real history. This is the face of Guy Fawkes. For over 400 years, his story has been tied to a single explosive event, the Gunpowder Plot of 1605. We've all been told to remember the 5th of November, but the true story of Guy Fawkes is far more complex than the myth, and dramatically different from the Hollywood portrayal. So today, we are opening the file on the man behind the mask. Was he a freedom fighter motivated by ideology? Or a religious extremist driven by desperation? The answer is hidden in the shadows of history. England, 1605. The Protestant King James I sits on the throne, having succeeded Queen Elizabeth I just 2 years earlier. For the country's Catholic minority, initial hopes for tolerance under the new king have evaporated. Instead, the persecution intensified. Under the harsh Recusancy Acts, practicing Catholicism was treason. Priests caught saying Mass were executed, and families faced crippling fines simply for refusing to attend Protestant services, fines designed to bankrupt them into submission. It was an age of fear, where neighbors spied on neighbors, and loyalty to the old faith meant risking everything. It was in this climate of oppression that a small group of provincial Catholic gentlemen, led by the charismatic and devout Robert Catesby, decided that prayer and patience were no longer options. They believed that God demanded action, a divine intervention delivered through gunpowder. Their plot was breathtaking in its scope. Not just to kill the king, but to wipe out the entire Protestant ruling class, the lords, the commons, the bishops, in one single cataclysmic blast during the state opening of Parliament. They envisioned a Catholic uprising in the ensuing chaos, placing the king's young daughter, Princess Elizabeth, on the throne as a puppet ruler. But a plot this audacious needed more than just conviction. It needed a specialist. Someone with real military experience, nerves of steel, and a deep knowledge of explosives. They found him in Guy Fawkes. An Englishman by birth, Guy Fawkes had left Protestant England years earlier, becoming a hardened mercenary fighting for Catholic Spain in the brutal 80 Years' War. He gained expertise in siege warfare and handling gunpowder. He was known for his technical skill, his physical toughness, and his unwavering piety. It's crucial to understand, unlike the enigmatic mastermind V depicted in fiction, the real Guy Fawkes was not the leader of the plot, nor its ideological heart. He was the hired expert, the explosive technician, brought back to England specifically for his deadly skill set. He was the man willing to get his hands dirty. He was the man they could trust to light the fuse.
A brief note from the archives. If the investigations we conduct here resonate with you, if you find value in exploring these hidden narratives, then we invite you to subscribe and perhaps activate the notification bell. That way, you'll be alerted whenever a new file is unsealed. Now, back to the evidence.
Their initial plan was even more daring. The plotters rented a house adjacent to the Parliament buildings and began to dig a tunnel, hoping to breach the massive foundation walls. The work was agonizingly slow, hampered by thick stone, damp, and the constant fear of discovery. Then, fortune seemed to smile upon them. They learned that a cellar, a coal vault located directly beneath the House of Lords itself, was available for lease. It was a perfect, almost unbelievable opportunity. Abandoning the tunnel, Catesby secured the lease. Over several months, under the cover of darkness, Fawkes and his associates secretly transported 36 barrels of gunpowder into the vault. A massive quantity, enough to obliterate the entire building and everything for hundreds of feet around it. They carefully concealed the barrels beneath piles of firewood and coal, waiting for the rescheduled state opening of Parliament, November 5th. Guy Fawkes, the explosives expert, was given the solitary, dangerous honor of guarding the payload and lighting the fuse at the appointed hour. But as the date loomed, paranoia and perhaps conscience began to fracture the plotters' resolve. 10 days before the planned attack, an anonymous letter was delivered to Lord Monteagle, a prominent Catholic peer. The letter urged him, in cryptic terms, to stay away from the opening of Parliament, hinting at a terrible blow. Who sent it? The mystery endures. But most historians point to Francis Tresham, one of the plotters whose brother-in-law was Lord Monteagle. Did he seek to save a relative without fully betraying his cause? Whatever the motive, Monteagle, rightly alarmed, took the letter straight to Robert Cecil, the king's chief minister. The secret, guarded so fiercely for months, was out. Cecil and the King's Council, now aware of a plot but not its exact nature, acted cautiously. An initial, seemingly casual search of the Parliament cellars was conducted on November 4th. They noted the unusually large pile of firewood in the leased vault and questioned the man guarding it, who gave his name as John Johnson. Fawkes remained calm, explaining the wood belonged to his master, but suspicion was aroused. In the dead of night, just hours before the king was due to arrive, a second, more thorough search party stormed the cellars. There, hidden amongst the wood, they found him again, John Johnson. This time they searched him thoroughly. Under his cloak they found his tools, a pocket watch to time the fuse, slow-burning matches, and touchwood. The game was up. The man they had captured was Guy Fawkes. The Gunpowder Plot had failed at the final dramatic hour. Taken immediately to the Tower of London, Fawkes was interrogated directly by King James and his council. At first, he was defiant, even arrogant, readily admitting his intent to destroy Parliament and kill the king. He expressed regret only that he had failed. But the king wanted names. He authorized the use of torture, beginning with the gentler tortures and escalating if necessary. Under the increasing agony of the infamous rack, after days of heroic resistance, Guy Fawkes eventually broke. He confessed the entire plot and revealed the names of his co-conspirators. The evidence of his ordeal is chillingly preserved in his own signature. The one he signed upon arrival at the Tower is strong and clear, Guido Fawkes. The one he signed after days of torture is a barely legible broken scrawl, the signature of a man whose body and spirit had been shattered. This brutal reality contrasts sharply with the fictional narrative of an untouchable, almost superhuman figure. The historical record shows a man pushed far beyond his limits.
The surviving plotters were sentenced to be publicly hanged, drawn, and quartered, a gruesome and agonizing form of execution reserved for the worst traitors. On a cold January day in 1606, Guy Fawkes was the last to face his fate in the old palace yard at Westminster, directly opposite the building he had intended to destroy. Weakened from the torture, he was barely able to climb the scaffold. But as the hangman prepared the noose, Fawkes, with his last ounce of strength, leapt from the gallows. The short drop broke his neck instantly, killing him and sparing him the agony of being cut down alive and disemboweled. It was his final, small act of defiance. There was no triumphant speech, no perfectly orchestrated final act as seen in modern adaptations, only a desperate, broken man escaping unimaginable agony. But there is one final, chilling detail left in the archives, a detail often lost in the story of the man: the 36 barrels of gunpowder. Modern analysis has concluded that if Guy Fawkes had succeeded in lighting that fuse, the resulting explosion would have been catastrophic. It wouldn't have just destroyed the Houses of Parliament, it would have leveled the entire district, including Westminster Abbey nearby. Windows would have shattered for nearly a mile in every direction. The blast would have been seen and heard across all of London. The scale of the intended destruction is almost unimaginable. The King declared November 5th a day of public thanksgiving, a celebration of his survival, marked by sermons and the burning of bonfires, a tradition that continues in the UK to this day as Bonfire Night. For centuries, Guy Fawkes was nothing more than a villain, a traitor, a straw effigy to be tossed onto the flames. But history is a strange thing. The story of a failed religious extremist has, over 400 years, been transformed. The modern symbol, popularized by fiction like V for Vendetta, represents anarchy and fighting fascism, a world away from the desperate Catholic plotters of 1605. The man has become a myth, and his mask has become the face of modern rebellion, a global symbol for the fight against oppression. So we are left with the final unsettling question. When we remember the 5th of November, are we celebrating the foiling of a traitor whose real plan was terrifyingly destructive, or the cinematic idea of a man who fought for freedom? The answer, it seems, is still hidden in the shadows.
What are your thoughts on this case? Share your theories in the comments below. If you'd like to be part of future investigations, we welcome you to subscribe and ring the notification bell. Your presence in the archives is valued.